Hello, my name is Oscar Fire, and welcome to a quick book review of the Scions of Shannara. I have no idea what this cover image is about. It has nothing to do with anything in the book, though. I will tell you that right now. This seems to be the case with a lot of this. Anyway, word brain. Alright, so I'm a little tired today. But I just finished this yesterday, and I actually have already started the Druidist Shannara. I just slapped my desk twice. That was very loud. I'm sorry. But I just finished this yesterday. I've already started the Druidist Shannara, but I wanted to talk about this. And I also want to talk about how I'm going to do the Shannara book reviews going forward. So basically, because, except for The Word and the Void, because every book series from here on out is literally a series of interconnected books. It's one long, like, sort of novel, but, there's, like, multiple books in them, basically. Kind of like The Lord of the Rings is. What I'm going to do is, basically, I'm going to have a series of shorter book reviews of each individual book going forward. And then I'm going to talk about the book series as a whole, obviously, in the last book review. That is the intention, anyway. Whether or not I succeed, then is a completely different story. But that is how I plan on going about this. So, yeah, we're gonna go. So first things first, I very much enjoyed this. I remember reading it. Funnily enough, I remember the Scions, I remember Druid, I remember Elf Queen, but I do not remember the Talismans of Shannara, the final book in the four-part in this four-part book series. I actually don't remember how it concludes. I just kind of, but I remember the basic plots of the first three books, and I remember enjoying them immensely. When I was younger, and reading it now that I'm adult, I really like this book. I like how it builds everything up. So of course the original Shannara trilogy and First King, which I read, of course, are all like standalone novels, right? You could pick them up, and while you lose some context from the rest of the series, that up to that point, on the whole, you're gonna know what's going on, right? Just by reading the book in and of itself, because it tells you, and because you don't need to have all that other context. But of course, with this series, this is the first time where we have to kind of like, where we need that additional context in order to really understand what's going on. And Scions is a very good starter. I do think it's a little bit slow in the first half. It's not awful. It's not awful or anything. I kind of like how it builds up the changes in the four lands. I feel like it could have been a little bit faster paced, but I don't mind it that much. I like books and I actually like any kind of like storytelling medium. That sort of takes it slow, even if some people call it too slow. I do actually prefer, generally speaking, when the plot goes slower and it builds it up and it gives you time to kind of settle in and understand what's going on. In this case, understanding that the threat of the Shadowin, how almost random the Shadowin threat is, understanding how the Federation has changed the face of the four lands in the past 300 years. I think that stuff is very good, and contextualizing that stuff and how it affects Par and Cole Almsford, I think, is very intelligent too. The book spends a lot more time bouncing around views, actually, and it spends very little time with Ren, of course. Her time to shine isn't until 2 books from now. But Walker Bow gets the limelight a lot in this book, actually. So that's actually a really surprise. I forgot that, in fact. I totally forgot that Walker Bow actually got a lot of the attention in the book. I also forgot that this is where he gets bitten by the Sphinx that causes him to lose his right hand. I just thought it was his left for the longest time. I think that might have been because of a cover on an older edition of the book that my mother owns, where I'm pretty sure it's his left arm that is, or else I flipped the image in my head. But I thought it was his left arm that was turned to stone. But anyway, but yeah, I like the way Scions though builds up its builds things up though. It does a really good job of just kind of setting the stage for what's coming. And then I like kind of like how the like as soon as they've met with Al-Anon, you know, it just kind of switches over entirely to Par Umsford's tale of searching for the sword of Shannara. And that part of the book I really, really remember. Where, like, I remember them going down into the pit and the shadow wind being everywhere and it being really eerie and just full of monsters. I have, like, weird mental images that are completely incorrect from what actually happens in the story from back when I was a kid. And I think it's really funny. Like, for some reason, I thought the pit was, like, more like a... I don't know, like a courtyard. I didn't realize it was like the whole area directly in front of the Palace of Calahorn, the Palace in Tircis, you know? I didn't realize that at all. I like my brain like remembered it wrong, or interpreted it wrong and remembered it wrong as a result. Not like grossly inaccurately or anything. It was just incorrect because it's definitely like it's like a little different than what like my brain remembers. I also like the twists and turns in the book. I like how like the book rather like talks about how the Shadowin are like these creatures that take over people's bodies, and then it kind of sits on that information for a little while, and then it kind of comes back like towards the end with the twist that's like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, it's like, wait a minute, what if the Shadowin can use this to become infiltrators? And of course they are, you know, because of course Teal the dwarf. By the way, Terry Brooks hates his dwarves. He kills both Teal and Steph in this book, and it's like, hello, can you just leave him alive just for a second? I'm telling you, the man hates that he made dwarves for Shannara. It's like he thinks they're too generic or something because he just treats them like poopy. He kills them all the time. But yeah, so brain fart triggered. But yeah, words. But I like how the book kind of like establishes that aspect of the Shadow One early on, and then kind of starts and then brings out like the later conclusion of like, or the implication rather of like how the Shadowin could use that to be even more dangerous, and of course use it, you know, and we find, you know, that's how the Jut is almost betrayed, you know, Padishar Creel's home base, and how, you know, the initial attempt to get the Sword of Shannara is betrayed. I like how the danger posed by the Sword of Leah comes back. I know I mentioned this in my review of the Witch Song of Shannara, but you know, like the fact that that danger seems to be completely abandoned by the time you get towards the end of the broader saga is very disappointing because it's actually a lot more compelling. I mean, you don't have to bring it up all the time, but it should still be there as like a threat to the Bear's Sword of Leah, unless something changed and I don't realize it. Because obviously the Sword of Leah is going to get reforged because Morgan Leah broke it, trying to save himself in Padishar. But yeah, I like how that comes back. Also, I'm reading this book again. I'm reminded. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. A lot of my favorite Shannara characters come from this quartet of books. I remember that Morgan Leah is my favorite. I remembered Morgan Leah is my favorite Leah. And I remember that Walker Bow. I love Walker Bow. I think he's a really cool character. I think I like Ren as well, Ren Omsford, but I don't remember. I know I like Elf Queen of Shannara. I gotta get to that book to really remember if she's like one of my favorites. I think so though. I think she's up there in some of my, because like for sure some of my favorite characters are in these books. But so I'm really looking forward to like really chewing through the next 3 books. Also, I'm not gonna lie, when I read this, I remember when Damson Reed comes up, you know, the redheaded guide in Tircis, you know, and she and Par form a romantic connection. It's really funny because I feel like this specifically kind of like may have influenced the way I like perceive like romance and stories and so forth, and like how much because like when I like I like romantic subplots, right? And in this book, it's sort of like, you know, like Par Umsford sees her for the first time and is like immediately smitten, you know, and I think like that's sort of like getting immediately smitten by someone who's like kind of just enchanting to like just look upon. I feel like that's like influenced like how much I enjoy seeing that sort of thing in books and stories, because I definitely like hang on to that sort of like way of thinking when it comes to that. Pity has never meant anything in my own life, but I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, there's lots of little details that I really enjoy in this book. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I also liked the idea of it. So there's also like the giant monster, the creeper, that attacks you know, the rebel base. What am I talking about? Star Wars. But that attacks the base, and I that's another thing I really like about the way Terry Brooks writes, especially early on, is the way he introduces new elements, new horrifying elements into the story, but makes it feel kind of natural, you know, because it could just as easily be a silly kind of super weapon of the week almost kind of idea. But instead it's like, no one knows where they came from. They just appeared and crushed the Dwarven resistance to Federation encroachment in the Eastland. And it's just, you know, I think I like it. It's eerie, you know. It kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies, I guess you could say, to introduce that element there. But yeah, that's just my quick kind of like, my quick sort of reflection on the Scions of Shannara. There's not a lot to say because the book only moves a little bit. Only advances the plot line a little bit because there's still, you know, other quests to go through. I forgot to mention Rimmer Dahl when I was talking about the Shadowin, but I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory because, you know, he's obviously the chief seeker of the Federation, looking for magic seeking out magic to stop it. And of course, it turns out he's a Shadowin himself, and that's very eerie. You know, it adds a lot more mystery and questions to the book, to the series that need to be answered. Very good writing. But anyway, so yeah, that's the quick and dirty review of this. Really enjoyed it. Definitely looking forward to doing more. And yeah, I don't know why I tried to end that video so quick, this video so quickly. Not that I really have anything else to say, but I was definitely going to skip over the part where it's like, make sure that you check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/AustinFire. I've been a little bit hit and miss with streaming lately. I'm just a little right now. I don't know why. Maybe I do. You'll never know. But yeah, make sure you go check that out. I definitely have more videos coming down the pipe. I have to continue recording to get some of the videos out. I'm hoping to have a couple of Final Fantasy XIV videos out before Endwalker early access releases on December 3rd. So look forward to that. I actually technically already have one ready to go. I just have to process it. But I want to produce a couple of others before I release that one. So yeah, be ready for that. Anyway, I'm gonna start getting into Druid of Shannara, and the book reviews will return when that book is finished. Until next time, everybody. I inflected that really weird.